In just 6 years, 70 to 85 million people were killed, dwarfing every prior conflict in history. More grimly, these weren't just clashes between organized armies. The vast majority of casualties were civilian populations caught in the crossfire. Before 1939, the global powers understood devastating warfare, but the ceiling for how fast humans could destroy each other was limited by older logistics and physical geography. That limit vanished when Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime set a rapid engine of escalation into motion. The trigger was pulled when German forces crossed the border and violently invaded Poland. That single border breach created a geopolitical vacuum. Within months, it dragged over 70 countries into a conflict that humanity was completely unprepared to manage. Combat was abruptly stripped away from foot soldiers and cavalry. The new front lines were dominated by heavy combustion engines and massive metal treads. Machines like these Soviet T-34s allowed militaries to deploy heavy armor at high speeds, shattering enemy defensive lines in hours instead of months. The threat expanded vertically. Fighter aircraft like this P-61 gave forces the ability to claim territorial dominance from above, launching direct strikes miles past the actual fighting on the ground. Beneath the waves, the oceans became stealthy war zones. Huge industrial resources were poured into building submarines designed specifically to hunt down and choke off international supply chains. These new machines introduced the grim reality of total war. Militaries could easily bypass trenches and fortifications to drop munitions directly onto factories, farms, and neighborhoods. Geography and travel time no longer acted as natural buffers against violence. The sheer speed of this technological acceleration meant that nowhere on Earth was entirely safe from attack. As the mechanics of combat accelerated outwardly, the Nazi regime turned the machinery of industry inward. This resulted in the Holocaust. Millions of Jewish people were systematically murdered under a cold, state-sponsored program of extermination. The cruelty extended into the medical and scientific wings of the regime, where doctors conducted agonizing and deadly experiments on these captives. The exact same logistical networks, massive railway systems, and factory efficiencies used to build tanks and move armies were perverted to process mass civilian death. The Holocaust revealed the absolute darkest consequence of unchecked state power. The conflict was a fight over the right of targeted populations to even exist. The relentless push for military dominance eventually converged in the laboratories of physicists, resulting in a terrifying leap in engineering, the atomic bomb. In 1945, 2 of these weapons were dropped on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, instantly vaporizing entire urban centers and shocking the globe. The sheer destructive scale of those 2 blasts forced Japan to surrender, effectively bringing the 6-year global conflict to a sudden halt. But the ink on the surrender documents stood in stark contrast to the physical reality left behind. Nations were staring at a shattered landscape, completely unable to return to their pre-war borders and economies. Humanity had to reckon with a disturbing new reality. For the first time, a single species possessed the technological capacity to completely wipe itself out. To prevent a repetition of that slaughter, governments were forced into a massive rewrite of military protocol, international relations, and global diplomacy. The legacy of World War II is the highly cautious, deeply armed global order we live in right now. We exist in a world strictly governed by the memory of what industrialized warfare actually costs.